Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from Vast Basis 2273, and it says, "Am I the arsehole for hiding the location of my best friend from my wife? About 5 years ago, I moved about 15 hours away from my hometown for a job. Shortly after moving, I met my now wife, Becca. A few years ago, I had a buddy, JR, from back home come stay with me. While here, he met my wife's sister, Maggie. JR and Maggie hit it off. They pretty quickly started dating. Maggie has a daughter from a previous relationship. Daughter's dad is very much in the picture. Almost a year ago, Maggie and JR moved in together. At the time, Maggie was living with her parents because she could not afford rent on her own. Things seemed to be going well. It is a long story, but almost 2 years ago, JR got pretty irrefutable proof that Maggie was cheating on him. He was angry, depressed, and overall distraught. He could not deal with confronting her, but he could also not deal with living with her. He talked to me and wanted my help to get away. So I reached out to my network of people who are not mutual friends of Becca and I to get him a place to stay. Becca, Maggie, Maggie's daughter, and my mother-in-law were going out of town to visit mother-in-law's mum a few weeks after he found out. I had a work friend with a rent house. I helped JR pack his stuff, which was like 90% of the apartment, and he moved out. He sent an email to Maggie about why he moved out. He left a check for rent and utilities through the end of March when their lease is up, and informed the landlord that he was not renewing. Maggie got the email and called JR numerous times while on the trip. My wife called me and asked what was going on and where was JR. I told her that JR moved out and he was safe, but I will not tell her where he is. They got back and Maggie flipped out about all the stuff JR took. My wife was quite angry and demanded to know where JR was. I kept telling her that he is safe, but I'm not telling her where he is. The last month has been tense, and my wife has begged and made threats to know where JR is. She has even tried using my phone to impersonate me to call JR and get information. I've since changed my password. She says we are married. This is affecting my family. I deserve to know. I refuse. She has even talked about this being divorceable. Am I the arsehole? Edits, my wife knows why JR left. 2. Maggie has admitted since he left that she was cheating. 3. My wife denies knowing about the cheating and I do believe her. Historically, Maggie and Becca are not close. Prior to JR moving here, we would see Maggie maybe once every 3-ish months. Since JR moved, we see her a lot more because JR and I regularly organize get-togethers, which is why my wife's reaction is surprising to me. 4. The stuff JR took was only his stuff. In fact, a lot of stuff he left is also his stuff. Other than gadgets, he left all the kitchen stuff despite it being 100% his. He left all the stuff in my niece's room, even though he paid for a lot of it. Absolutely not the arsehole in this situation, and the behavior from your wife in this is sketchy at the least in my opinion. You know, threatening behavior, trying to use your phone to impersonate you. The fact that she's escalating this to divorceable territory, it kind of feels like there's more going on here than just a concern for her sister. And I think you should absolutely stand your ground on this. Your friend deserves the protection during this time. He was cheated on. He was the one that was wronged. But Defy says, not the arsehole. What does your wife have to say about her sister cheating on your friend? New comment says, not the arsehole. Maggie has made her bed and she can lay in it. At least until the eviction notice rolls around. The fact that your wife has a bigger problem with JR leaving Maggie than she does with her sister cheating on JR says an awful lot about your wife. And as a woman myself, it doesn't say anything good. If your wife chooses to implode your marriage because her sister is a cheater, that is on her. You don't owe Maggie anything. Cat Jarman's Pan says, I'm interested in why your wife/Maggie needs to know where JR lives. They've broken up. It's over. That's it. As ever, the best way to see how you feel about a situation is to turn it around and look at it from other angles. Let's say it was Maggie who moved out with your wife's help. She's ended the relationship and doesn't want JR to know where she lives now. Now, can we imagine a response if you were pressuring your wife to tell you, and presumably JR, where she was living? Yeah, that would be a big fat get the fuck out motherfucker. You've got several options. Ask your wife if the situations were reversed, how would she feel about your pressuring her to give JR Maggie's address? Tell her that JR has moved again, and that he has deliberately not told you his new address because he knows your wife is trying to give that information to Maggie. I'll be honest, I think that you're learning some really unpleasant things about your wife. Attitudes to cheating, attitudes towards domestic violence, attitudes towards your autonomy. I'd be very tempted to see if JR has a spare bedroom you can stay in. Not the arsehole. Viking with a hobble says, you want to divorce me because your sister cheated on my best friend. Let that one ride next time she says something about divorce. Just let that sit in the air for a moment or two. Fit or Fat says, not the arsehole. Doesn't the reason JR left matter to your wife? Apparently not. Yes, this affected her sister, but mostly financially. If she's not working, she does need to find a job, and maybe move back with her parents until she can find another place to live. JR and Maggie weren't married, so no divorce. Maggie and your wife just want to harangue the poor dude or guilt trip him into giving Maggie money. F that. And if your wife thinks divorcing you will solve her cheating sister's problems, she has another thing coming. And one more comment from Strange Name, who says the fact that your wife thinks this is divorceable is in and of itself divorceable, and that she took your phone and impersonated you. That's probably illegal in some way or another. You guys need a marriage counselor, and would love to be present for that one. The look on the therapist's face will be priceless. Like the other poster's suggestion to ask Becca how she would feel with the parts reversed. Regardless, this is nuts. Her sister had a relationship with your friend and she cheated on him, so he left, and your wife wants to track him down. And if you don't tell her where he is, she might divorce you over it. Read that again, out loud. Opie comes in to update the post and says, weeks after the post, Becca let slip that I knew where JR is located. This caused a slew of harassment from Maggie and my mother-in-law. I refused to tell them where he is. Some choice words were exchanged between Maggie and I, and I told her she is not allowed in my house until she apologizes. She refuses, so I've not seen her or my in-laws in about a month. Since the end of March, Maggie has been living again with my in-laws. Becca tried to get me to agree to let Maggie and my niece move in, but I refused based on the conflict I have with Maggie and Becca's behavior the last couple of months. Becca explained to me why she'd been behaving this way. She has the last couple of months. Maggie's ex has said that if Maggie moves back in with my in-laws, he's going to go for full custody of my niece. The neighborhood where the in-laws live is rough, and there is a fair bit of conflict between Maggie and my father-in-law. Since moving back in, my niece's dad's lawyer has reached out and indicated they're going for full custody. Becca is blaming me and JR for this. She is convinced that if they knew he was leaving, they could work something out to keep them together, or at least keep Maggie in the apartment. I do not think that is the case at all. JR is still processing things, but was willing now to speak to Maggie. So he reached out a couple of weeks ago. This past weekend, Maggie and JR spoke via FaceTime. Maggie wanted an in-person meeting, but JR absolutely refused. Maggie apologized and tried to get JR to reconsider for my daughter. JR refused. Maggie had an emotional outburst and JR hung up on her. There is no plan for him to speak to her again. And I think JR handled that pretty well. He sort of maintained distance, well, led in the talk when he didn't have to in the first place. And as soon as she tried the manipulation, he hung up on her. Absolutely the right thing to do. But I think now the spotlight turns back to your wife because her behavior is still massively concerning. The fact that she's still thrown you under the bus, putting the blame towards you, the whole we could have worked something out argument from your wife is just pure fantasy. What did she think was going to happen, that JR was just going to forgive the cheating and keep financially supporting someone who betrayed him? And as sad as the custody situation is, it's not on you or JR. Maggie made all those choices in the end, but again, wife's behavior, I don't know where you go with that, but I'm certainly side-eyeing her at the situation. The top comment on that update said, your wife is delusional. Do not let Maggie move in. She will never move out. Dimpled by Leah says, not the arsehole, and honestly, you've been the only adult in this situation. Becca blaming you and JR for Maggie's custody issues is wild. Considering Maggie's own choices blew up her life, JR owes her nothing, and the fact that she tried to emotionally manipulate him for your daughter is so gross. Like, your daughter deserves love, not guilt-leveraged relationships. You set boundaries, stuck to them, and protected someone who needed space to heal. That's not betrayal. That's loyalty with a spine. And one final comment from Sky Blue, who says, "Oh no, she fucked around and found out. Oh no, the consequences of her actions are catching up with her. Oh no, how dare people not see that she is the victim. Oh no." Listen, OP, your wife is the problem here now. The fact that she is still supporting her sister and things are not her fault speaks louder than anything else. I would be wary here. Communicate this with her. Explain to her that the situation her sister found herself in is all her fault. If your wife doesn't see it or tries to make excuses, I would leave, because she is approving cheating, not the arsehole. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Victitious from the Bridezilla's subreddit, and it says, "Am I the arsehole for not inviting my siblings to my wedding? My sister, 34 female, and her husband, 36 male, just got married 3 months ago. I, 30 female, was appointed maid of honor. I was so excited to help her plan for a wedding, and I took most of the work since I was unemployed at the time, and she's a doctor. I won't get into details, but take note, she didn't have a wedding planner. It was all me. The time leading up to the wedding, I was miserable because of how the bride treated me. I felt like her own personal slave that she could kick around because she's the bride. Just because you're a bride doesn't mean you get a free pass to be a bitch." Many times I wanted to just step out of the wedding party, but I kept telling myself to just bite my tongue and keep the peace because she's probably just stressed. After doing so much for her, she refused to invite my fiance, even if we've been together for 12 years, but invited my siblings' partners, who have been around for only 2 to 3 years. My sister and her guy dated for a year before they got engaged, so we don't really know him too well. She said she didn't want my fiance around because people would be asking about my own wedding, since they've all been wanting us to get married for a while. I refused to do any more work for her wedding until she apologized to me and invited my fiance. Which she did. Not exactly sincerely, but whatever. I was hurt she wasn't even grateful for anything that I had done for her and her dream wedding because it was expected of me to help. Cut to the day of the wedding and everything was fine. The ceremony was beautiful and the couple was happy. I was happy for my sister. By the time we got to the reception venue, I noticed my fiance and I were on a separate table from my family. They were at the VIP table and I was cast aside to sit at the furthest table right beside the kitchen. I figured there was a mistake and I calmly asked the bride about it since she handled the seating plan. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "There's no mistake. That's where we belong, at the kids' table and far away." We were seated with 7 to 14-year-olds. The groom overheard us and agreed with me, but kept quiet when my sister gave him this "don't you dare disagree with me" look. At the end of the night, the groom apologized to my parents for what happened to me and said he had no clue his bride did that. But he didn't say a word to me as his bride told him not to. Because of this, I decided not to make an issue and just try to enjoy the remainder of the night with my partner. But I wouldn't make a maid of honor speech. My parents noticed where I was and got upset at the situation as well. My siblings knew very well I wasn't at their table but didn't bother looking for me or wondering why I wasn't seated there. When they heard I wasn't making a speech, my 2 brothers walked to my table to tell me off, saying I had to understand my sister and the stress of being a bride. Be nice to her because it's a special day and you're only a bride once. Yeah, right, I bet they're divorced. That I'm a disgrace and a disgusting disappointment for not doing a speech for my sister, that I would make my sister sad and I was being selfish for making the night about me, when I was literally quiet in our corner. Needless to say, I wasn't having the best time, so we got up and left. We ended up in McDonald's for dinner and I posted a story of us getting burgers saying, "Post-wedding meal." I made sure I posted it after the reception ended to not make it look like I ditched, but my siblings saw this as an attack to my sister somehow. Up to this day, the bride says she did nothing wrong, and her reasoning for putting me there was, 1, I didn't plan her wedding exactly like she envisioned during the process, so I deserved to sit there, when I was doing everything she told me she wanted. 2, she didn't like that I looked pretty in my gown. And 3, I needed to be punished for insisting on bringing my fiancé. I didn't plan for my own wedding yet, as I wanted to be 100% focused on hers. Plus, she banned me from getting married before her since she's older. Again, because I didn't want drama, I agreed. But now I just don't want anyone there except my parents and a few close friends. My parents agree with me, but my siblings are upset, calling me childish. But to be completely honest, I just don't feel like paying for shit people. Mine is a destination wedding, and my fiancé and I are paying for everything. These are our savings, and I don't feel like splurging on these people. They, along with my grandparents and cousins, are all saying I'm wrong. But hey, if I was excluded from being a sibling at my sister's wedding and no one cared, then why would you be upset if I excluded you in return? Someone says to the OP on this one, Echo says, OP, wedding planning issues aside, one possible explanation for all of this is that your sister really dislikes your fiancé. OP says, in regards to my fiancé, there's nothing he did to her to warrant being treated so rudely. We started dating when we were quite young, and I, as well as my parents, love him very much. He was my best friend for a long time and still is my favorite person to this day. My sister always hated that I had a boyfriend before she did because she believed I wouldn't ever get married because of my disability. I am an epileptic. Her husband was her first boyfriend and she married him right away because she wants babies ASAP. Since she's already 34 and her goal was to be married before 30. To the point that she started planning and booking vendors even before he actually proposed to her. So basically, she's pretty insane. Her actions are always based on jealousy and the fact that I shouldn't be able to have things if she hasn't had them first because she's the eldest, i.e. boyfriend, engagement, wedding, kids, etc. That's why she said I couldn't get married before her because it was already a slap in her face that I got engaged younger than her. Basically, she hates that I'm happy. She doesn't hate him, she hates me. So OP came in with her first update and says hi again, so I'll answer a few questions and leave a quick update. I, 30 female, come from a family of 5 kids. I failed to mention this because I didn't think it was all that relevant, but I actually have 2 sisters, 34 and 32, and 2 brothers, 26 and 22. A little more on my sisters. They're the best of friends. They're the picture-perfect model of sisterly love, while I'm the middle child with 2 younger brothers. So why did I agree to be maid of honor? Well, because I thought it would bring us closer. In my mind, I believed that this was her trying to be more of a sister to me. You always hear stories of that sisterly bond around weddings, and I tried to nurture that because that's what they had. And that sibling bond is what my brothers had with each other as well. Any chance I'd get to connect with my sisters, I'd jump at the opportunity. It's more me just feeling left out than being a doormat. I was a very sickly child, and that is why I was mostly with just my parents growing up, while my siblings would be going out, meeting friends, etc. Which is what my siblings envied apparently. They aren't close to my parents. Bride had both of us as maid of honor because she couldn't just choose one. I later found out that I was always the second option, and I was just appointed maid of honor, so I do all the work while other maid of honor got all the praise, which in hindsight I should have seen coming. While my brothers were busy harassing me about giving my maid of honor speech, Sister 2 was giving her own maid of honor speech about how she absolutely loves the bride and will do anything for her, all that crap. She then conveniently calls all the siblings to the stage to toast the bride and groom when I was crying and rushing out / walking away from my brothers. So to the other relatives in attendance, I was making a scene and making it about me. No, it's not the first time she hurt me. Fat shamed me as a child, calling me a potato, saying things like I was a burden to the family because of my epilepsy, throwing all my makeup in the sink and wetting it because I moved her bath towel in the bathroom, calling me the stupid low IQ sister, even if I'm a licensed architect with a master's degree, when her guy friends wanted to ask for my number. Taking my dream church from me, which is why my fiancé said we could do a destination wedding at my dream country instead. It's just the worst she's done to spite me in front of my entire family. And no, we still haven't spoken since then, and she still maintains that I was the one who ruined everything by getting upset about the seating. Now, for the update. We will elope. Just us 2 and a handful of close friends that were there for us since the beginning of our relationship. We have a small church wedding and a little celebration on the beach with the people we love, our chosen family, followed by island hopping with our entire party around the Philippines, all paid by us because I will spend on memories and experiences for people that love and appreciate us. The budget we set aside for a wedding in Italy will be put to an intimate 5-day wedding celebration on an island in the Philippines. 2. We will have our reception with the family when we get back home. The plan is to invite our big families to a luncheon the weekend after. Collectively, this would mean about 80 guests max. Both our parents wanted to help pay for the engagement party and rehearsal dinner. They agreed to pay for this luncheon/reception, instead meaning they could invite whomever they please. They handled the guest list, so if my siblings are invited, I couldn't care less because I'll be too busy with my husband of 1 to 2 weeks by then. Here we can still have the father-daughter dance and a few other things like cake slicing, etc. We have piñatas, a brick oven pizza cart, coffee and pretzels, and an amazing Italian buffet with a pasta bar. Lots of fresh fruit and cheese, because who doesn't like cheese? Cheese. As for the seating plan, ever watch Mamma Mia 1? Yep, think that. A long, widening table where my siblings can be as far away from me as possible. And as close to the service area as possible without it being obvious, because they'll all be together at their own siblings' table. We'll be in the center with my fiance, his 2 brothers and our parents will be next to us, while my wonderful sibs are by the end of the table by the restrooms where they belong. I don't care at all if they're invited to this lunch because I really have nothing left for them, not even anger. I'm just so done with them that I feel more for a stranger on the street than I would for these people. It's indifferent. They've hurt me so many times that I'm numb to their existence. 3. No bridezilla allowed. My sister expects to be my maid of honor in return. Definitely not going to happen since my siblings won't be present in the ceremony. I do not need her around. I don't want her around. Yes, she'll be invited out of courtesy to the reception, most likely, but I will make sure that she's set aside like I was. How so? We recently found out she's pregnant, so I'm planning my wedding around her due date. Oh well. Luckily, she's due around June, which was the month we wanted. So if she does decide to attend with a newborn and her hus, well then, she's going to be at the kiddie table and told to step out when baby starts to cry. In the end, our wedding day is for us, and eloping is the only way I feel we could just sit and enjoy our special day together, away from all my siblings and family issues. Then when we get back, have a get-together lunch with some good food and good fun, which is really all it is to me, a lunch. Luckily, fiance's fam isn't as insane as mine is. So there you have it. Thank you for all your messages, comments, and insights. I really was going a bit loco back then, thinking I was overreacting, but thank you so much for the clarity. Cheers to the end of this emotionally draining year. Someone says to OP, but you will invite them to the party. It's like saying, no matter what happened, come to my wedding. Sorry, but I think there is no way to avoid drama with these siblings. OP says thank you for your concern, but they aren't coming to the wedding, just a lunch after the fact, as in minimum 2 weeks after my wedding. They can do whatever drama they want during lunch because they'd be the ones to look bad and I'd just laugh. I would have been married by then and done celebrating with my closest friends weeks prior. So by then I'd just be enjoying some pizza and wine with the hus. Angry says, OP said they're jealous of the attention OP got for being sickly when she was a kid. Sometimes parents can be so preoccupied with a sick child that they wind up neglecting the other kids. If that's the case here, then their sibs would have good reason to be angry, but they're mad at the wrong person. OP didn't ask for any of this. Anyway, these people are adults and they need to get their shit together. They're old enough to realize none of this is OP's fault. OP says, my parents were actually very supportive and did all they could to be as fair to all of us, so I really can't put fault on them. They're really amazing parents. I wasn't treated any differently, I just didn't have many friends being absent from school constantly, so I'd hang with my mum. She's honestly my best friend. It was okay growing up, but the jealousy really was evident when we were in our 20s for whatever reason. Parents are allowed to be closer to one child if the others treat them like trash. 9 months after that, OP comes in with another update and says, I know a number of you have been waiting and I swear this is the soonest I could post. I'm sorry, I promise I'll explain. The wedding. I absolutely enjoyed wedding planning and my husband, yay, if you ever decide to get married, do a small wedding, you'll live longer, I swear. We told our friends and families that we were pushing back the wedding and wanted to do a destination bachelor/bachelorette trip first. They had no idea we were actually getting married on this trip. We got to Boracay before everyone for some us time. When friends arrived, we did all the fun island activities. The night before our wedding, we asked everyone to be up at 7 for breakfast and to dress up in tropical beach outfits for cute pics. We told them to pack this beforehand. Once everyone was there, husband told them that we were to be married at 4 p.m. and this was actually an elopement. The excitement from all our friends will forever be a core memory. It's the best feeling to actually have people genuinely happy for you. Us girls did each other's hair and makeup, cried and hugged a lot, while the boys had a good time drinking and playing football. We had our phones and an old digital camera that would pass around, and that was it on our event photos. Surprises were our thing since we began dating, and it was just so sweet that we both thought to do the same for our wedding. I love flowers, but I didn't want to bother finding a supplier there. We did have someone help us with all the requirements, but that was it. I'd just get flowers for the luncheon instead. Well, my husband decided to speak to the hotels to surprise me. He knew my favorite flowers and made the prettiest bouquet ever. He also had the church filled, and I ruined my makeup ugly crying when I walked in. For my husband, he's extremely close with his brothers, so I made sure to fly them out to surprise him too. He needed his best men there, and I was happy to have them. When we said I do's and headed to the hotel for dinner by the beach for Boudol fight, Google that now, it's so good, nothing fancy, but we were happy. The luncheon. Before the elopement, I sent my seating plan to our family group chat because I didn't want them to make a scene on the day. Everyone thought these were the seating plans for our reception. Well, here's where my pettiness shows. My head table consists of our parents and my husband's bros. All my siblings were at both ends of the long table. My favorite slap in the face though was a table for one, way in the back tagged breastfeeding area with sister's name on the chair. She was livid. I simply said I was looking out for her. I expected she wanted some privacy. No hard feelings, just thinking ahead. My siblings refused to come because they saw my elopement as an act of disrespect, especially since my brothers-in-law were there. They called our relatives to tell them not to come. Some were upset I could do that to family, and they did not agree with our union. I'm happy to report that out of 127 guests, only 58 were coming. So I cut my budget by over half. Sounds like a win to me. The venue was my husband's small family farm, which was so beautiful that I didn't need to spend much on decor at all. Music was just a Spotify playlist we made. Photos, prenup, beach and lunch were all by my friends. Cake was baked by me and my mum 2 nights before. Flowers I bought for myself from the morning market and arranged with my girls. My dress was just one I had in my closet. Food, we asked people to bring over potluck meals instead of gifts if they wanted to. We still had our pizza oven, pretzel cart and coffee bar that we paid for instead of a caterer. E-invites were designed by us and sent via email. Since my siblings all didn't want to attend, only Bridezilla's hubby got an invite, with no option for a +1. A C-section was scheduled a week before my wedding. Did she notice I planned for her to miss the luncheon? Yes she did. It was magical. Us being so unaffected upset them even more, but I've come to realize that the louder you try to force people to side with your opinions and your narrative, then the more toxic, unhinged, narcissistic you are. No, I didn't need to go no contact with them because they all decided to be no contact with me. I didn't even need to try. Blessings left and right. For those blaming my parents, none of my siblings were neglected. If anything, they gave my sibs so much more time and freedom to compensate for all the attention that I needed. Remember, these kids are grown-ass adults. My parents are seniors. They're tired. They told my siblings off for being gigantic gaping a-holes, but what else can they do really? Put them on timeout? Since both our parents wanted to pitch in, they helped us with a down payment on a house instead. In return, we surprised them with a 1-week vacation each to, and I'm sorry I'm going to butcher this, I did try to look it up, but apparently there wasn't very many good pronunciation places. Amanpulo. We saved so much from our wedding and luncheon that we just wanted to show how much we appreciated their support and love. Lastly, any extra food and flowers were either taken home by guests or donated. It just made everything more special. Weddings are about love. Our favorite people were around to celebrate us, and we made sure to also celebrate the love we have for them. Our family, best friends, dogs, who were the stars of the show really. I fully embraced this life of peace, contentment, and indifference for my siblings. No idea what they're up to. Sorry. They kicked me out of the group chat, and I only know my sister gave birth because bro-in-law messaged she did. Last thing I heard is they're still trying to badmouth my husband, but we really couldn't care less. We've moved on. Sucks for them they haven't. Thank you all for following along. It was empowering to know I wasn't alone and enlightening to hear that this type of sibling abuse isn't actually normal. This is your kiddie table maid of honor finally signing off. P.S. I was told this reached TikTok and YouTube vids, so fam, if this reaches you, welp. P.S. A big reason I didn't get to update you is really bad morning sickness ×2. Dun, dun, dun. And in the relevant comment says, I do have a follow-up question. The original post talked about a destination wedding in Italy to which they were not invited, which makes it plausible to them that they would be at the reception. Opie says they were invited to Italy. It's a given that family is invited to weddings, unless they're like mine, and they knew of our initial plans. Of course, nothing was set in stone because, like I said, I didn't plan anything for my wedding because I had prioritized hers. After my sister's wedding, I decided to find ways and means to uninvite them / make sure they don't attend while they still believed they were sure invites because family. Which was the entire point of my post. If I'd be the arsehole if I didn't invite them. And as stated, of course, it was plausible to them they'd be at the reception because they believed they weren't wrong and were still wanted at the wedding. Please read carefully. Opie responds on how her parents treated their siblings when she was sick. And Opie says, thank you for your opinion on the matter, but I sincerely believe it's not my parents' fault at all. I can't explain to you how my childhood turned out exactly, and I can't explain to you just how good my parents were, so if I can't convince you, then alright, but I'm going to always defend my parents on this. If you say they had trauma, well, I've had far worse trauma growing up with epilepsy, and I never treated them poorly. And that was OP's last update on the matter, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me, so thank you for being a part of it all, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and much love.